Welcome everyone to the Yissilmissil Productions channel. My name is Steven Yissil. And today, let's read the Immortals and see how it compares to The Matrix. We're going to read 20 pages today. The first 20 pages. I figure that's palatable for all of you. We'll do this in 20-page increments. So I'm hoping you'll join me for this journey, so to speak. I see we already have John and Lerny here in the chat. Good to see both of you gentlemen. And welcome everyone else that's tuning in today. Including the haters. Welcome. Especially Tom for giving this stream the blessing to go forward. Because he obviously doesn't take me seriously. But that's what we're going to do today. We're going to read 20 pages of The Immortals. Compare it to 20 pages of The Matrix shooting script. Both from 1998. That's what we have to work with here. And I think it's going to be a good show. Now, after we're done with this show for Let's Read The Immortals, we'll be ending this stream, and I have a redirect where we'll go directly into Let's Talk About It, episode 23. And we will continue doing our review of last week's interview that was like 3 hours long. We only got an hour through it. So we'll be doing 2 more hours, hopefully. If we don't knock that out, we'll save the rest for next week. It's all stuff that takes time here, people. But nobody is doing what I am doing here. But we'll get started very shortly. So like I said in Let's Talk About It last Sunday, we're going to make my screen very small. Well, maybe not that small. We'll adjust it as we need to. But just to give you an idea of what we're doing here. There was a lot of prep that went into putting this show together, guys, so I really appreciate you being here. Alright. So on the left side, we have The Matrix by Andy and Larry Wachowski, or as written, Larry and Andy Wachowski. Numbered shooting script from March 29th, 1998. On the other side here, we have The Immortals by Thomas Althouse. This was submitted into the Library of Congress, December 22nd, 1998. We are going to break this down page by page in sequential order. And I'll leave it up to you guys and girls. See what you all have to say about it. But, I'm going to give you a spoiler warning. We're not going to find the types of matchups that Tom is claiming here. But you have to see it to believe it, right? So, these are both the cover pages. Let's get to page 1, shall we? See, I'm gonna have to be very small here. Not sure where to put myself. I'm just gonna be super tiny in the bottom here. Because we need to see everything on the screen. There we go. How about I put myself right in the middle? Okay. So these are both page 1 of The Matrix and The Immortals. The Matrix will be on the left side, and The Immortals will be on the right side. So for The Matrix, we have, for page 1, fade in. On computer screen. So close, it has no boundaries. A bleeding or a blinding cursor pulses in the electric darkness like a heart coursing with phosphorus lights. Burning beneath... Alright, I have to take these glasses off. I wanted to actually read with it on, but it's really difficult. Burning beneath the derma of black neon glass. A phone begins to ring. We hear it as though we were making the call. The cursor continues to throb, relentlessly patient. Until... Man, voiceover. Yeah. Data now slashes across the screen, information flashing faster than we can read. Quote, call transopt received 2/1998/13/24/18 record log. Woman, voiceover. Is everything in place? On screen. Quote, trace program running. End quote. I think you guys will be recognizing a lot of what's in the shooting script from The Matrix if you've watched the film, especially multiple times like I have. We listened to the phone conversation as though we were on a third line. The man's name is Cypher. The woman, Trinity. Trinity, woman voiceover. I said, is everything in place? The entire screen with racing columns of numbers, shimmering like green electric rivers. They rush at a 10-digit phone number in the top corner. Cypher, man voiceover. You weren't supposed to relieve me. Trinity, voiceover. I know, but I felt like taking a shift. The area code is identified. The first 3 numbers suddenly fixed, leaving only 7 flowing columns. Cypher, voiceover. You like him, don't you? You like watching him. We begin moving toward the screen, closing in as each digit is matched, one by one, snapping into place like the wheels of a slot machine. Larney says here in the comments, I have watched it multiple times as well. Absolutely love the movie. Yeah, so do I. I actually watched it, I want to say like 5 or 6 years ago in 35mm in Chicago, in the Wrigleyville area at the Music Box Theater. It's very nice. Okay, so we've read page 1 of The Matrix. Now let's see what page 1 of The Immortals has. Exterior, rainforest, near river, dawn. Music, Immortals theme by Tom Summers and Alan Grace. Gliding through pillars of clouds. A vast canopy of trees below. Superimpose Amazon rainforest. Descend to canopy through the leaves and to the ground where the light is noticeably subdued. Music ends. Frank Rubles, a careworn Jewish man, mid-50s, and Karl Mauer, a kindly-faced German in his mid-30s, running hard. Both wear lab coats. Mauer carries a small lab monkey in a pillowcase. Rubles, out of breath, grabs Mauer's arm and stumbles to the ground near a river. They speak in German with English subtitles. Rubles breathes hard, looking back the way they came as he speaks. Rubles. We have to split up. They have dogs. It will better our chances. Mauer. Rest a moment. Mauer puts the tied pillowcase down and tears off his lab coat, revealing a resplendent Nazi SS uniform. Rubles. No time. Go on. Mauer pulls 2 syringes from his pocket. Mauer. The one who hurries will forget something important. He laughs to himself. Mother used to say that. Mauer injects himself. Mauer. I hated when she did. Mauer uncaps the second syringe. Right off the bat, we have 2 completely different screenplays. This is all everybody needed to see to know that Tom is fabricating a lot of what he's talking about. If not everything. So that's page 2, or that was page 1. Now we're going on to page 2. So again, on the left side is The Matrix. So let's read page 2. Continued. Trinity, voiceover. Don't be ridiculous. Cypher, voiceover. We're going to kill him. Do you understand that? He's going to die just like the others. Trinity, voiceover. Morpheus believes he is the one. Only 2 thin digits left. Cypher, voiceover. Do you? Trinity, voiceover. It doesn't matter what I believe. Cypher, voiceover. You don't, do you? Trinity, voiceover. If you have something to say, I suggest you say it to Morpheus. Cypher, voiceover. I intend to. Believe me. Someone has to. The final number pops into place. Trinity, voiceover. Did you hear that? Cypher, voiceover. Hear what? On screen, quote, trace complete. Call origin number 312-555-0690. Trinity, voiceover. Are you sure this line is clean? Cypher, voiceover. Yeah, of course I'm sure. We move still closer. The electric hum of the green numbers growing into an ominous roar. Trinity, voiceover. I better go. It says continued on the bottom, so it continues on to page 3. So let's see the Immortals page 2, which is on the right side of the screen. Mauer, your arm, quickly. Rubles obeys, pulling back his sleeve. There are welts all over his arm. Mauer speaks as he injects him. Mauer, those were sandflies. Rubles, it felt like fire. Mauer finishes the injection as Rubles rubs his bite marks. Mauer, the guards are given these. It should help with malaria and some other things. Out here, it's probably what you don't see that's most deadly. Mauer recaps the syringes, pockets them, tears off a small piece of his lab coat and puts the lab coat back on. Rubles, where will you go? Mauer picks up the pillowcase and begins to untie it. Mauer, I must find my wife. I told her I'd be back before dinner. Anxious laughter. Did you hear what year it is? Mauer lifts out the monkey by its collar with one hand and tucks the pillowcase into his uniform jacket with the other. Rubles. No, but I have the time. Rubles reaches into his lab coat pocket and pulls out a watch and a ring, while Mauer ties the torn piece of his lab coat to the monkey's collar. Mauer, look for an inscription. Rubles examines the ring. So that's the side-by-side comparison of page 2 from both scripts. Now we are moving on to page 3. So this is continued from page 2 for the Matrix on the left side. She hangs up as we pass through the numbers, entering the netherworld of the computer screen. Suddenly, a flashlight cuts open the darkness, and we find ourselves in interior heart of the city hotel, night. The hotel was abandoned after a fire licked its way across the polyester carpeting, destroying several rooms as it spooled soot up the walls and ceiling, leaving patterns of permanent shadow. We follow 4 armed police officers using flashlights as they creep down the blackened hall and ready themselves on either side of room 303. The biggest of them violently kicks in the door. The other cops pour in behind him, guns thrust before them. Big cop. Police! Freeze! The room is almost devoid of furniture. There is a fold-up table and chair with a phone, a modem, and a PowerBook computer. The only light in the room is the glow of the computer. Sitting there, her hands still on the keyboard, is Trinity, a woman in black leather. Big cop. Hands behind your head. Now! Do it! She slowly puts her hands behind her head. Exterior, heart of the city hotel, night. A black sedan with tinted windows, glides in through the police cruisers. Agent Smith, Agent Brown, and Agent Jones get out of the car. They wear dark suits and sunglasses even at night. They are also always hardwired. Small Secret Service earphones in one ear, the cord coiling back into their shirt collars. Agent Smith, Lieutenant. The lieutenant, oh shit. And it says continued. That'll continue on to page 4. I don't see any similarities yet. Oh my gosh. Alright, so page 3 of the Immortals on the right side of the screen. Rubles. Here's one. June 1984. Mauer to himself. Helena. Rubles looks around. Rubles. Is this Germany? Mauer, still distracted. No. Rubles. My wife was killed a long time ago. Mauer looks back the way they came as if he hears something. Mauer. It's Brazil. Rubles. Laughing nervously. I thought Germany became a greenhouse. Looking at the uniform, in parentheses. Why are you helping me? Mauer steps away from Rubles and firmly plants himself facing the direction he has been listening in. His back towards Rubles. Mauer. Your people were wronged. I want to save at least one person. Sounds of nearby insects and far-off wildlife. Mauer. It must not begin again. Dogs begin barking in the distance. That's the first 3 pages, people. I see 0 similarities so far, and the first 10 pages should tell you everything you need to know to have the movie progress into its second and third act. So that was page 3. Now we're on page 4 of both scripts. I already feel like this is enough. Like, we'll keep going though. So page 4 of the Matrix on the left side here. Continued from page 3. Agent Smith. Lieutenant, you were given specific orders. Lieutenant, I'm just doing my job. You give me that juris my diction, and you could cram it up your ass. Agent Smith, the orders were for your protection. The lieutenant laughs. Lieutenant, I think we can handle one little girl. Agent Smith nods to Agent Brown as they start toward the hotel. Lieutenant, I sent 2 units. They're bringing her down now. Agent Smith, no, Lieutenant. Your men are already dead. Interior, heart of the city hotel. The big cop flicks out his cuffs, the other cop's holding a bead. They've done this 100 times. They know they've got her until the big cop reaches with the cuffs and Trinity moves. It almost doesn't register. So smooth and fast. Inhumanly fast. The eye blinks and Trinity's palm snaps up and the nose explodes, blood erupting. Her leg kicks with the force of a wrecking ball and he flies back. A 250-pound sack of limp meat and bone that slams into the cop farthest from her. Trinity moves again. Bullets raking the walls. Flashlights sweeping with panic as the remaining cops try to stop a leather-clad ghost. A gun still in the cop's hand is snatched, twisted, and fired. There is a final violent exchange of gunfire, and when it's over, Trinity is the only one standing. It says the scene continues on page 5. Now let's compare that to the Immortals page 4 on the right side here. Mauer. Get in the water. Carefully. Don't splash the ground. Ruble steps into the water. Mauer follows holding the monkey. Mauer. Not too deep. Piss on the monkey. Rubles hesitates. Mauer. Hurry or we're both dead. Rubles unzips his trousers. Mauer unzips one-handed, dangling the monkey by its collar. Both men piss on the monkey's back. Kandiru, a small eel-like fish, let me read that. I'm trying to be as accurate as possible here. Kandiru, small eel-like fish, instantly gather in a frenzy around the two men. Mauer, they like urine. Cover your groin when you cross the river, or they'll burrow inside you. Rubles covers his groin with his hands. Mauer, to the monkey. Run or you'll end up in the lab again. Mauer slow pitches the monkey onto the shore. It springs rapidly away from the direction of the barking dogs, with the torn piece of the lab coat flapping behind it. Mauer. Hopefully they'll think we only stopped to piss. I used to train their dogs. Laughing, Rubles clasps Mauer's shoulder, still covering his groin with one hand. Rubles. God be with you, my friend. Mauer sees the concentration camp ID brand on Rubles' wrist and nods. Rubles speaks intently into Mauer's eyes. Rubles, may you find his peace. Again, I don't see any matchups here whatsoever. But we shall move on to page 5. So page 5 on the left from the Matrix. Continued from page 4. A flashlight rocks slowly to a stop. Trinity. Shit. Exterior heart of the city hotel. Agent Brown enters the hotel while Agent Smith heads for the alley. Interior heart of the city hotel. Trinity is on the phone, pacing. The other end is answered. Man, voiceover. Operator. Trinity. Morpheus, the line was traced. I don't know how. Morpheus. Man, voiceover. I know. They cut the hard line. This line is not a viable exit. Trinity. Are there any agents? Morpheus, voiceover. Yes. Trinity. God damn it. Morpheus, voiceover. You have to focus. There is a phone. Wells and Lake. You can make it. She takes a deep breath, centering herself. Trinity. All right. Morpheus. Voiceover. Go. She drops the phone. Now for page 5 of the Immortals on the right side of the screen here. The barking becomes louder as the two men wade rapidly away from each other toward the opposite shore. Still holding their groins, the men turn on their backs and kick to proceed through the deeper water. Exterior, rainforest riverbank, day. Armed guards wearing fatigues, accompanied by fierce-looking dogs, reach the spot where the monkey was dropped. The dogs sniff and snort the ground, and then dart off in a frenzy in the direction of the monkey. Guard number 1 lingers, looking at the opposite shore. Something shines in the water. We see it is a syringe in shallow water near the opposite shore. It had fallen from Mauer's pocket in his hurry to swim away. The guard keeps his eyes on it as he quickly takes off his jacket. Exterior, concrete facility, day. Is covered with vegetation netting and lies under the high canopy of the rainforest. Guards, dressed in the same fatigues as the pursuers, stand on the roof. A few are looking through field glasses. All is quiet except for insect noises. Interior concrete facility overlooking main floor, day. All is commotion. A scientist sits among many other active lab personnel at panels overlooking an enormous chamber. They speak English. Scientist, primary sequence. Main floor, a Jewish man. In his mid-30s, lies in an open cryonic container with an oxygen mask over his face and sensors along his body. Lab technicians start life support systems to activate his heart and lungs. Other attempts to revive bodies are going on simultaneously around the chamber. The man begins to convulse in agony. Blood erupts from his mouth, coating the oxygen mask. Overlooking main floor, a scientist is watching as lab assistant number 1 brings over a handheld computer unit. And see, this is This is where Tom says he created the iPad. There's buttons on it though, and it's the size of a clipboard. Again, I don't see any connections here. Alright, now we're on page 6. We'll start with the left side with the Matrix, page 6. Interior hall. She bursts out of the room as Agent Brown enters the hall, leading another unit of police. Trinity races to the opposite end, exiting through a broken window onto the fire escape. Exterior fire escape. In the alley below, Trinity sees Agent Smith staring at her. She can only go up. Exterior roof. On the roof, Trinity is running as Agent Brown rises over the parapet, leading the cops in pursuit. Trinity begins to jump from one roof to the next, her movements so clean, gliding in and out of each jump, contrasted to the wild jumps of the cops. Agent Brown, however, has the same unnatural grace. The roof falls away into a wide back alley. The next building is over 40 feet away, but Trinity's face is perfectly calm, staring at some point beyond the other roof. Cop. That's it. We've got her now. The cops slow, realizing they are about to see something ugly as Trinity drives at the edge, launching herself into the air. From above, the ground seems to flow beneath her as she hangs in flight, then hits, somersaulting up, still running hard. Cop. Jesus Christ. That's impossible. They stare, slack-jawed, as Agent Brown duplicates the move exactly, landing, rolling over a shoulder, up onto one knee. It is a dizzying chase up and over the dark, plateaued landscape of rooftops and sheer cliffs of brick. Ahead, she sees her only chance, 50 feet beyond the point where her path drops away into a paved chasm. There is exterior window. A yellow glow in the midst of a dark brick building. Trinity zeroes in on it, running as hard as she can, and it's just continued. So we'll continue that after we read this next page of the Immortals on the right side. So this one's saying, overlooking main floor. So I'm reading the bottom of page 5 just to have continuity here. Overlooking main floor, a scientist is watching as lab assistant number 1 brings over a handheld computer unit resembling a metal clipboard. So that continues on page 6 here. Lab assistant number 2 is smoking nearby. Scientist, who was the subject. Lab assistant number 1 patters buttons on his handheld unit. Lab assistant number 1 reading. Kaufman, Harold, Jew, 35 years old, smoker. Lab assistant number 2, watching horrified, looks at his cigarette and puts it out. Cheers go up from another part of the lab. Lab assistant number 1, looking towards cheers. Another successful regeneration. We see technicians congratulating each other around a dazed man who is being transferred from a container to a stretcher on wheels. Lab assistant number 1. We had an 80% success rate for that phase. Scientist busying himself. Recompute data from the last 2 phases. Let's make this round 100%. Exterior rainforest day. The lab monkey is still damp with urine as he races along the ground. The barking is intense. The dogs are closing. The barking dogs are wide-eyed as they race towards us. Guards follow in the distance. The monkey looks back in the direction of the barking and then easily scampers up a large tree. A piece of the cloth tied to his collar tears off on a low vine. The monkey jumps to a second tree, heading high into the canopy. Rainforest, riverbank, guard number 1 is in boxer shorts wading into the water. He jolts forward, then regains his footing. I am not seeing any matchups here. We're on page 6 already, alright? I wish I could say more, but like, I've already read through the first 12 here on my own, so we're going to page 20 today. I'm already 43 minutes in. See that? See how long this takes to do? But at the same time, you know, Tom should have been doing this from the get-go. He should have been able to do this, find his matchups, his 118 matchups, and just read them like this. John says, this reminds me of Outbreak. Tom mentioned it, citing it as a bullet special effect. I'm not familiar with that. In 1995? Alright, I'm going to read the synopsis for Outbreak from 1995 on IMDb. A team of army doctors struggle to find a cure for the deadly Matoba virus that was transported from Africa to North America by a white-headed capuchin monkey and is now spreading quickly through a small California town. And Dustin Hoffman's in that too. I don't know. Like, we're looking at this as is. Tom can say all he wants up and down that this is like the script torn in half and put together and submitted in 98. What we're looking at here is 2 scripts from 1998 that are extremely different from one another. Yeah, and John says, yeah, the Hoffman movie. Tom was convinced that Dustin Hoffman was part of whatever was going on with this stuff. He wanted Dustin Hoffman cast in this movie, that he wanted the Immortals to be made with this script, I guess. But you know what? These we're, this whole time we've been taking Tom's word for what he's been doing. Like we just take his word all the time. All these hosts take his word. Like, I don't even think we got to the two main characters that are supposed to be Neo and Smith, right? But Smith's already here. I don't know where his Trinity character's at in the Immortals, but Trinity's running on buildings at this point in the script. These guys they were running away in a forest. So you have, what, rooftop buildings and then an Amazon rainforest. There's no monkeys, no dogs in the Matrix, but they're here in Immortals. I'm not seeing it. I'm just not seeing it. John says Hoffman was Tom's architect. Damn. I remember that now. Thank you for reminding all of us here about that footnote here. Alright, we're going on to page 7. This is going to take a bit. I'm going to try to make this into 7 parts. So that's going to be the next several couple of months, right? We'll get it done. I'm only going to do this once a week. Like, I don't want to spend this much. I'm already going to be doing double time here today. Because we'll be doing Let's Talk About It episode 23 after this. Page 7 of The Matrix on the left. Continued from page 6. So we gotta see what the previous one was here. Trinity zeroes in on it, running hard as she can running as hard as she can, and hurdles herself into the empty night space. Her body leveling into a dive. She falls, arms covering her head as the whole world seems to spin on its axis. Interior. Back stairwell. And she crashes with an explosion of glass and wood. Then falls onto a back stairwell, tumbling, bouncing down stairs, bleeding, broken, but still alive. She wheels on the smashed opening. Above, her gun instantly in her hand, trained, waiting for Agent Brown, but is met by only a slight wind that hisses against the fanged maw of broken glass. Trinity tries to move. Everything hurts. Trinity. Get up, Trinity. You're fine. Get up. Just get up. She stands and limps down the rest of the stairs. Exterior street. Trinity emerges from the shadows of an alley and at the end of the block in a pool of white street light, she sees it. A telephone booth. Obviously hurt, she starts down the concrete walk, focusing in completely, her pace quickening as the phone begins to ring. Across the street, a garbage truck suddenly U-turns, its tires screaming as it accelerates. Trinity sees the headlights of the truck arcing at the telephone booth as if taking aim. Gritting through the pain, she races the truck, slamming into the booth. The headlights blindingly bright, bearing down on the box of plexiglass just as she answers the phone. There is a frozen instant of silence before the hulking mass of dark metal lurches up onto the sidewalk. It says continued on the next page. Now let's compare that with page 7 of The Immortals. The quick change in the river bed has left him waist deep. With still a distance to go to reach the syringe, he looks around to see if anyone's watching. Fools with his shorts and urinates underwater. His eyes roll back in relief as we hear music, Jaws theme, as a bubbling occurs about the guard. He looks down and appears confused over why his urine seems to be boiling. The canned Iru strike, like the opening scene from Jaws, but with fish less the size of a tadpole. The guard flails in the water, different directions, trying to elude the mini jaws. Sheer panic. Guard number 1, screaming in pain. Mein Gott, mein Gott. The guard is doubled up and clutching his groin as he leaves the water, screaming. Interior, concrete facility, overlooking main floor. Day. Guard number 2 winds his way to the scientist. Guard number 2. The two regenerates that escaped during testing are still missing. We found this. Guard number 2 holds out the piece of the lab coat that tore on the vine. Guard number 2. They're escaping through the trees. Scientist. I don't have time for excuses. Find them. And in parentheses says into a phone. Are the physicals complete? Good. Excellent. And then to the guard. Terminate the rest of the secondaries now. Into an intercom echoing heavily through the facility. The testing is complete. We have a go. Revive the primaries. Into his second phone. Dispatch the gunships. Main floor, 100 cryonic containers. Draped with Nazi flags rise from beneath the floor. Men in uniform quickly troop in along balconies and line up with precision. The central container opens, revealing the frozen body of Adolf Hitler. So that's the top of page 8. I just read through that so that we didn't just have an awkward pause or break there. All right, now we're on page 8 for both of these. Again, I don't see any. I really don't see anything. I don't know what to say. If you think like the comparisons are going to be later on, they should be right here in these first 10 pages, and they're not. Page number 8, The Matrix, continued. Barreling through the booth, bulldozing it into a brick wall, smashing it to plexiglass pulp. After a moment, a black loafer steps down from the cab of the garbage truck. Agent Smith inspects the wreckage. There is no body. Trinity is gone. His jaw sets as he grinds his molars in frustration. Agent Jones and Brown walk up behind him. I'm going to take a quick side note here and say I can visually see everything that's happening based off, like we've watched this movie a bunch of times, right? But reading it, it is nearly shot for shot what they made. And this was from 98, before they shot it. Here, since this movie, The Immortals, was never made, it's a little more difficult to put into your mind's eye what's happening. But basically, they're in the rainforest in this concrete facility, and they're reanimating cryogenically frozen bodies. There's no cryogenic freezing in the Matrix. Everybody's just in pods with their bodies being used as energy and their minds being in a prison. A further prison, right? Hey. Alright, let's finish this page 8 of The Matrix here. Agent Jones. She got out. Agent Smith. It doesn't matter. Agent Brown. The informant is real. Agent Smith almost smiles. Agent Smith. Yes. Agent Jones. We have the name of their next target. Agent Brown. The name is Neo. The handset of the payphone lays on the ground, separated in the crash like a severed limb. Agent Smith will need a search running. Agent Jones, it's already begun. We are sucked towards the mouthpiece of the phone, closer and closer, until the smooth gray plastic spreads out like a horizon, and the small holes widen until we fall through one, swallowed by darkness. The darkness crackles with phosphorescent energy. The word searching blazing in around us as we emerge from a computer screen. The screen flickers with windowing data as a search engine runs with a steady, relentless rhythm. We drift back from the screen and into, and we'll take a peek at the next page just so we can finish this thought, and into interior Neo's apartment. Okay. So let's look at page 8 of The Immortals. I'm gonna have to go back real quickly here. So, previous page, the bottom of page 7 we're reading, and we'll read it into page 8. Main floor, 100 cryonic containers, draped with Nazi flags, rise from beneath the floor. Men in uniform quickly troop in along balconies and line up with precision. The central container opens, revealing the frozen body of Adolf Hitler. Interior cryonic container. Hitler's point of view. Day. From black, we see a blur and then the ceiling. The sound of a rush of air followed by labored breathing. The men on the balconies begin shouting the Nazi salute in unison. Men on the balconies. Tom didn't even spell this correctly. It's S-E-I-G, and he put Z-E-I-C-H. Sich Heil, Sich Heil, Sich Heil. The screen goes black as the echoes fade heavily. So, did Tom just not even research the German language and he's writing about German-speaking characters? He can't even use proper German? He just makes up words that sound phonetically like the words that they should be? Like that? Come on, man. Exterior rainforest. Day. Mauer runs through a thick cloud of mosquitoes that get into his mouth and eyes. Their buzzing is like a roar. He stumbles, blinded and in agony, down a hill, clutching his face with muffled screams. Above rainforest canopy, helicopters, armed with machine guns, hover above the thick canopy of trees. Rainforest canopy, lab monkey, with the piece of cloth on its collar, sits in the canopy of trees and looks above him. Sounds of helicopters and a loudspeaker can be heard nearby. Loudspeaker. We have your position. Come down and surrender yourselves now, or we will open fire. It's over. I repeat. Rainforest floor guards, with their dogs whining and barking, look up at the canopy as helicopters and the loudspeaker continue their noise. Some guards are pointing to a particular spot of the canopy, while another speaks into a headset. Loudspeaker. Come down now and surrender yourselves, or we will... Above canopy, helicopters open fire on the canopy. Tat, tat, tat. A variety of animal cries respond. Alright, I'm back. John, you better be joking here. John says in the comments, the monkey is Neo. He is played by Alec Baldwin from The Shadow. I'm gonna just assume you're joking. You tell me if you are or not, because I don't even know anymore. All I wish is that I knew about this 4 years ago before I even started any of this. Would have saved me a bunch of time and energy. But since Tom doesn't want to do this himself, we have to do this. Hey, Frankie D, what's up, man? We're reading through the Immortals right now. Comparing it to The Matrix, page by page, the same year of publication, I guess you could say. Although, this was March 1998. For The Matrix, this was, what, December? Let's see it again real quick. December 22nd, 98. Matrix was March 29th, 98. And that's a numbered shooting script over here. So this was before it went into production, yet it reads as it is on screen, which is the definition of a screenplay. This is reading more like a stage play to me. Tom was a stage screenwriter, right? He was also a stage director for theater. So I guess some of the comparisons right now is when you're doing a screenplay, whenever you do change location, you put interior, exterior, and then the name of the place and the time of like whether it's day or night. But over here, you see this on this page. We're going to read through both pages here in a moment. But on the right side here on the Immortals, page 9. Second line says, Rainforest Canopy, Lab Monkey. That shouldn't even be formatted that way. It needs to be exterior rainforest canopy, and then the lab monkey name should be down connected with the continuing sentence, which is like, I guess Tom's wanting us to read this like, lab monkey covers his ears frightened. Well, that lab monkey text should be next to that line below it, and it's not. It's all good. It's stuff I can forgive as someone that's like getting started into screenwriting, but Tom was apparently doing this as a profession, so I don't know why his formatting's off. John says, I am joking, but Tom said that he wanted Baldwin to play the Neo character. And that's wild. And so we haven't even gotten to the Neo character yet in the Immortals. He hasn't even shown up yet. At least I don't think he did. If anyone watching knows, please clarify that for me. But as far as I'm concerned, we haven't came across that yet. And let's talk about it. Part 20 or episode 23. That's not going to start by 1 o'clock today. So like we're going to keep this going until we are done with 20 pages, because I want to keep this within a 2-hour time frame. Doing 20 pages a week. I want this a 7-part series of critiquing and reviewing this. Maybe we'll see why Alec Baldwin was Tom's choice, but like Tom wants so many things with this script. He doesn't want anybody altering it. Obviously, from a creative standpoint, you would want that to not have it be altered in any way. But like as a screenwriter, you can't just name and pick mainstream A-list actors. Like they have to agree to this project as well. So if he was writing it for those actors to play these roles, it's kind of a big ask. And I'm being very objective here with this. Like we're going off the backstory that Tom was intending to have this made. He had these people in mind that he wanted to play the certain roles, but he continually says Neo character, Smith character. Like he's not even naming the actual characters that appear in the Immortals. He's just referring to the Wachowskis' characters' names because he thinks that it's all stolen. We're under the impression here that it wasn't. And you can take 20 movies and have them all be like, oh yeah, this part was used here, this part. Like, come on, man. Like, Kung Fu Panda and Ratatouille. I keep going back to those two. Like, those are the straws that break the camel's back, right? Yeah, John, you're correct. John says, I think the Neo character is called Jim, and Smith is Berenger. Well, we haven't met Jim or Berenger yet in the script, but at the same time, we're just getting to Neo now on page 9. So let's read this page 9 of the Matrix, and then we will read page 9 of the Immortals here. So, interior. Neo's apartment. It is a studio apartment that seems overgrown with technology. Weed-like cables coil everywhere, duct-taped into thickets that wind up and around the legs of several desks. Tabletops are filled with cannibalized equipment that lay open like an autopsied corpse. At the center of this technological rat nest is Neo, a man who knows more about living inside a computer than outside one. He is asleep in front of his PC. Behind him, the computer screen suddenly goes blank. A prompt appears. Quote, "Wake up, Neo." End quote. Neo's eye pries open. He sits up, one eye still closed, looking around, unsure of where he is. He notices the screen. He types Control X, but the letter T appears. Neo. What? He hits another, and an H appears. He keeps typing, pushing random functions and keys while the computer types out a message as though it had a mind of its own. He stops and stares at the 4 words on the screen. Quote, "The Matrix has you." End quote. Neo, what the hell? He hits the escape button. Another message appears. Quote, "Follow the white rabbit." End quote. He hits it again, and the message repeats. He rubs his eyes, but when he opens them, there is another message. Quote, "Knock, knock, Neo." End quote. Someone knocks on his door, and he almost jumps out of his chair. He looks back at the computer, but the screen is now blank. Someone knocks again. Neo rises, still unnerved. Neo, who is it? Choi, off screen. It's Choi. Well, it says continued on to the next page. Now for page 9 of the Immortals. The canopy begins to have the appearance of a tossed salad. Rainforest canopy. Lab monkey. Covers his ears frightened. The deafening cries of animals. Bullets zip by. Rainforest floor. Guards. Try to protect their heads as branches, leaves, and an array of dead creatures such as snakes, birds, a sloth, and monkeys fall to the ground from high above. The forest canopy begins to open up from the bullets tearing through it, causing beams of light to enter in, and a contrasting beauty to the ghostly shower of debris. Dogs gather around a spot as guards run up to investigate. They pull off the pile of dogs, revealing the remains of the lab monkey. The monkey is curled up as if sleeping, but blood is coming from its mouth. The piece of lab coat still tied to its collar. The guard with the headset speaks into it as the helicopters continue to fire. Mixed reactions from the guards. Curses and laughter. Guard number 3. Shit. Interior, Schneider's house. South America. Night. Gerhardt Schneider is in his 70s. His appearance is disheveled. The house is cluttered and dirty. He hears a faint noise and reaches for a revolver, which he points at the door. Schneider, to himself, "Leave me alone, you Jewish pigs." Schneider cocks the revolver, ready to fire, as Mauer pushes the door open, standing still. He is filthy, with swollen eyes, and covered with scabs and sores. That should be spelled S-O-R-E-S, but it's all good. All right. A cyst is on his cheek. He is in a soiled t-shirt and the torn pants of his SS uniform. Mauer. "Hello, Gerhardt." Schneider. "My God, Carl?" So right now we have Carl Mauer and Gerhardt Schneider, right? So it's not Neo or Smith. We have not met either of those characters yet here in the Immortals. The ones that Tom claims to be those characters. So moving on to page 10. Oh, gosh. Page 10 from the Matrix on the left. Continued. Neo flips a series of locks and opens the door, leaving the chain on. A young Chinese man stands there with several of his friends. "Neo, you're 2 hours late." Choi, the man. "I know, it's her fault." Neo, "You got the money?" Choi, $2,000. He takes out an envelope and gives it to Neo through the cracked door. Neo, "Hold on." He closes the door. On the floor near his bed is a book. Baudrillard's Simulacra and Simulations. The book has been hollowed out, and inside are several computer disks. He takes one, sticks the money in the book, and drops it on the floor. Opening the door, he hands the disc to Choi. Choi, "Hallelujah. You are my savior, man. My own personal Jesus Christ." Neo, "If you get caught using that..." Choi, I know. This never happened. You don't exist." Neo, "Right." Neo nods as the strange feeling of unrealness suddenly returns. Choi, "Something wrong, man? You look a little whiter than usual." Neo, "I don't know. My computer..." And then continued on to the next page. Now page 10 of the Immortals. Mauer. "We had a deal. Only Schneider's gun moves, lowering slightly. Amazement. Schneider. Quickly shut the door. How did you find me?" Mauer collapses to the floor. Mauer's point of view coming from black. We see a blurred image of Schneider above us as Mauer regains consciousness. The image clears. Schneider is working on a cyst on Mauer's cheek with forceps. Schneider. Got you, you bastard. Schneider pulls a squirming grub from Maur's cheek and displays it for us and Maur to see. Schneider. Stututu grows under the skin. It was ripe, so I pulled it. Maur is laying on a table and looks dazed. Schneider lets the grub drop from the forceps onto the floor and crushes it with his foot. Maur. Where is she, Gerhardt? Schneider. First things first. Were you followed? Maur. A man escaped with me. Schneider. Did you kill him? Maur doesn't answer. Schneider. Did you kill him? Again, I'm not seeing matchups here whatsoever. If you guys are, let me know. Page 11 of The Matrix. Continued. He looks back at Choi, unable to explain what just happened. Neo. You ever have the feeling that you're not sure if you're awake or still dreaming? Choi. All the time. It's called mescaline. And it is the only way to fly. He smiles and slaps the hand of his nearest Droog. Choi, it sounds to me like you need to unplug, man. A little R&R. What do you think, de jour? Should we take him with us? De jour. Definitely. Neo. I can't. I have to work tomorrow. De jour. Come on. It'll be fun. I promise. He looks up at her and suddenly notices on her black leather motorcycle jacket dozens of pins, bands, symbols, slogans, military medals, and a small white rabbit. The room tilts. Neo. Yeah, sure, I'll go. Interior apartment. An older apartment. A series of halls connects a chain of small, high-ceilinged rooms lined with heavy casements. Smoke hangs like a veil, blurring the few lights there are. Dressed predominantly in black, people are everywhere, gathered in cliques around pieces of furniture like jungle cats around a tree. Now for page 11 of the Immortals. Maur, I got rid of him. Schneider, I told you before they took you that I would do this as long as no one knew. Did you kill him? Maur, you did it for the money I paid you and will be paying you. Yes, he's dead. Schneider, good. Then you'll be all set. Schneider gestures to a pocket. Or to a packet. Schneider gestures to a packet. Maur. Helena? Schneider washes his hands in the adjacent bathroom. Schneider. In America. She sends me a Christmas card every year. I haven't kept records because, quite frankly, I didn't expect to see you again. Schneider hands Maur an envelope with an address and Christmas seal on it. Maur appears moved by the sight of his wife's writing on the envelope. Maur, is my plan ready? Schneider, you must wait at least a week. Mauer grabs the revolver and points it at Schneider. Mauer, I'll rephrase the question. Schneider calmly walks towards Mauer holding a mirror. Schneider. Carl, you probably have the beginning of 3 diseases at least. And the way you look, you might as well change. You might as well charge admission and take a circus along. You go out there now, you'll stand out. So I continued reading on to page 12 there. We'll get both page 12s up. This is actually taking a lot longer than I expected, everyone. I'm doing my best here. Page 12 from The Matrix on the left side here. Continued. Neo stands against a wall alone, sipping from a bottle of beer, feeling completely out of place. He is about to leave when he notices a woman staring at him. The woman is Trinity. She walks straight up to him. In the nearest room, shadow-like figures grind against each other to the pneumatic beat of industrial music. Trinity. Hello, Neo. Neo. How do you know that name? Trinity. I know a lot about you. I've been wanting to meet you for some time. Neo, where are you? Or who are you? Trinity. My name is Trinity. Neo. Trinity? The Trinity? The Trinity that cracked the IRS D-base? Trinity. That was a long time ago. Neo. Jesus. Trinity. What? Neo. I just thought you were a guy. Trinity. Most guys do. Neo is a little embarrassed. Neo. Do you want to go somewhere and talk? Trinity. No. It's safe here, and I don't have much time. So again, I'm able to visualize what is in the film because what's written here is what was shot. Let's see what page 12 of the Immortals says over here. We'll pick up from where we left off, because I finished the dialogue from the previous page there. Schneider holds up the mirror for Mauer. Schneider. Besides, I saw another statutu in you. Mauer's point of view, the mirror, reflects another cyst below his eye. The cyst is twitching slightly. Mauer puts the gun down and lays back down. Schneider looks into the mirror. Schneider. Given the circumstances, you look better than I do. Mauer. They've done it, Gerhardt. They've really done it. Schneider. I could see that. Mauer. I've got to get Helena before they do. Opening credits. Music, quote, In the Lap of the Gods, end quote, by Alan Parsons, Arista Records. Montage. A sunrise in the desert. A temple in the desert at a medium distance. A jackal in the foreground watching a man in white at the temple doors. The jackal runs off. Go to black on slamming sound. Title, quote, The Immortals, end quote, in large, shiny, metallic letters in a field of flames on Organ Blast. Title fades into distance as drumming begins. Nazi stormtroopers charging over a hill. Hitler and Göring in an open staff car saluting a crowd. A Nazi rally with thousands of Nazi soldiers saluting in unison. Hitler dancing a jig at the fall of France. Hands and faces peering from barbed wire on boxcars. Jewish citizens being shoved into line by Nazis using gun butts. Starving Holocaust survivors lined up along barbed wire. Again, there's two completely different things happening here at this place in both scripts. Alright, moving on to page 13. The Matrix on the left side here. Continued. The music is so loud they must stand very close, talking directly into each other's ear. Neo, was that you on my computer? She nods. Neo, how did you do that? Trinity, right now, all I can tell you is that you are in danger. I brought you here to warn you. Neo, of what? Trinity, they're watching you, Neo. Neo, who is? Trinity, please, just listen. I know why you're here, Neo. I know what you've been doing. I know why you hardly sleep, why you live alone, and why, night after night, you sit at your computer. You're looking for him. Her body is against him, her lips very close to his ear. Trinity, I know because I was once looking for the same thing. But when he found me, he told me I wasn't really looking for him. I was looking for an answer. There is a hypnotic quality to her voice, and Neo feels the words, like a drug, seeping into him. Trinity, it's the question that drives us, the question that brought you here. You know the question just as I did. Neo, what is the Matrix? And so it's continued on to the next page. So let's see what page 13 of the Immortals reads. This is continuing from its own page 12 that had a whole bunch of bullet points for a montage. A little girl wearing a Jewish star clutching a tattered doll and crying hysterically in the mud. Christ being nailed to the cross. Christ's cross being lifted into place. Christ's head turning to the side, speaking unheard words as he dies. The cross at a distance under a darkened sky. Outstretched hands receiving Christ's body lowered from the cross in a sheet. Christ's body being carried to the tomb. Christ's body being placed in a tomb. The tomb is sealed as a Roman guard takes position in front of it. Introducing Jim Reese, our main character. A quick pause in the reading here. As a screenwriter, that is a no-no. You're not supposed to be doing that. You're not supposed to be saying who's the main character in the script. But we'll carry on here. Jim throws a briefcase into a black convertible, gets in, and starts the car. Compressed distance view of Jim's car coming over and down a wet hill. Jim's car heading toward Washington, D.C., under a dark, stormy sky. Christ's tomb empty as an upset Roman commander pushes a guard to run. Guard running toward, over and away from us, and up the steps of a temple. Ascend from the temple steps to the sun. Descend from sun to Washington, D.C., as Jim's car pulls up outside CIA. Jim gets out of his car and hurries inside CIA building. Following Jim as he enters a conference room through double wooden doors. Credits and music end. Interior, conference room, day. Jim Reese is 34, a family man and a department head of the CIA. Alan Grace and Steve Davis, his co-workers, look up from a table as they are leaning over. Alan, Jim Reese's close friend, is mid-30s, clean-shaven, and tastefully dressed. Steve is 30, single, and eager to advance in both the job and social arenas. Jim: what's up, Alan? Alan: take a look at this, Jim. Alan hands Jim part of an open file. Jim: the ghost hunt? He's another illegal immigrant like the rest. Just process him. That's on to page 13. I'm telling you guys, I don't see anything that tells me that this was ripped off from the other. I really don't. And I see comments came in here. Give me a second. John says, Tom's screenplay reminds me of Michael Crichton's writing. I see zero matchups. Lerny says, so far it's nothing alike. Missing Time says, I'm traveling but will definitely be doing the replay. My hope is that I can say Tom is a good writer. I'm actually pretty stoked for the read through. Or for the read though. Lerny says it's actually not even a bad script that Tom Althouse wrote. Yeah, you know, you could follow it, right? You could follow it and see how it needs to be built, and like from a film production standpoint, it's achievable. But like some of the things, like the monkey, you need to have a trained monkey, or you use CGI or whatever the heck. Like, you preferably want all real, tangible things for the production of it. But so far, it is not in sync with each other. If there were like key moments that are like, no, like this is undisputable that this script pulled from this script, then I would give Tom some credit for trying to go after them. But right now, we're 13 pages in. At this point, we should already have covered everything we need to set the story up going forward. And these two scripts are going in completely different directions. Let's get page 14 up here. And Missing Time, thank you for for being here. I know you're driving, but it'll be worth coming back and looking at this later. I'm doing this as a service to everybody who's ever heard about Tom Althouse and wants to know the truth. Tom has never done this and will never do this. If he ever tries to do this, he will most likely copy what I'm doing here. But that's just my opinion. So page 14 of the Matrix on the left side of the screen. Before we start, John says, I think Grace is the Morpheus character. Okay. Well, again, I want to say something here. Jim Reese being Neo, Tom should be clarifying that in every single interview he does. Yet, he never mentions Jim Reese being turned into Neo for the Wachowski script. He never mentions that. Like, in that chronological order, he should be presenting his script and Jim Reese, and then saying Jim Reese got turned into Neo. But he's not saying that. He's saying Neo and Smith in my script did this. No, you can't be doing that, dude. Because that tactic then just makes us feel the need, like it feels like we've been betrayed by the Wachowskis, which I don't know. I don't know at this point. Okay, we're moving on. We're gonna read page 14 here of the Matrix. And continued from page 13. Trinity. When I asked him, he said that no one could ever be told the answer to that question. They have to see it to believe it. She leans close, her lips almost touching his ear. Trinity. The answer is out there, Neo. It's looking for you, and it will find you, if you want it to. She turns, and he watches her melt into the shifting wall of bodies. A sound rises steadily, growing out of the music, pressing in on Neo until it is all he can hear as we cut to interior Neo's apartment. The sound is an alarm clock, slowly dragging Neo to consciousness. He strains to read the clock face. 9:15 a.m. Neo. Shit. Exterior, skyscraper. The downtown office of Meta Cortex, a software development company. Interior, Meta Cortex office. The main offices are along each wall, the windows overlooking downtown. Reinhardt, the ultimate company man, lectures Neo without looking at him, typing at his computer continuously. Neo stares at two window cleaners on a scaffolding outside, dragging their rubber squeegees down the surface of the glass. Reinhardt. You have a problem with authority, Mr. Anderson. You believe that you are special, that somehow the rules do not apply to you. Obviously, you are mistaken. It says continued on the next page. Now for page 14 of The Immortals. Alan. This is big. Tracy, an agent in her late 20s, enters. Tracy. Here's the current shots. Tracy lays out color surveillance photos of Karl Mauer, a Nazi who fled from the facility to find his wife. One photo is a close-up of Mauer. The other shows Mauer outside his wife's home. Long lace curtains in the windows distinguish it from the otherwise identical attached neighboring row homes. Alan. He made a contact. Jim, unconcerned. When? Alan. Last night. The house belongs to Helen Mauer, a noted literary figure. Steve. Duke Street, Washington, D.C., right here in our own home field. Jim. Did they know they were observed? Alan. No indications they did. Jim. So? Alan. I'll let Steve. Steve. Very animated. Okay, here's the good part. Again, I'm not seeing similarities here at all. Tom can say all day up and down that they extracted parts of this to make this, but so far I'm not seeing any solid comparisons. Hey, Zenray. Zenray says, hey, y'all, I'm here now listening. I'm helping somebody move, so sorry I'm not in the chat. No worries. Thanks for being here, Zen. All right, we got 6 more pages to go. And that will be all for today's Let's Read of these 2 scripts. After this show is over, though, we're going straight into Let's Talk About It episode 23. So this show will end, but it should redirect you or give you a link to go to the Let's Talk About It show. That's going to be on this same channel here. But that'll be immediately after we read through up to page 20. Right now we're on page 15. So, page 15 of The Matrix, continued from the previous page. His long, bony fingers resume clicking the keyboard. Reinhardt. This company is one of the top software companies in the world because every single employee understands that they are part of a whole. Thus, if an employee has a problem, the company has a problem. He turns again. Reinhardt. The time has come to make a choice, Mr. Anderson. Either choose to be at your desk on time from this day forth, or you can choose to find yourself another job. Do I make myself clear? Neo. Yes, Mr. Reinhardt. Perfectly clear. Interior. Neo's cubicle. The entire floor looks like a human honeycomb, with a labyrinth of cubicles structured around a core of elevators. Voice off screen. Thomas Anderson. Neo turns and finds a Federal Express guy at his cubicle door. Neo. Yeah, that's me. Neo signs the electronic pad, and the FedEx guy hands him the soft pack. FedEx guy. Have a nice day. He opens the bag. Inside it or inside is a cellular phone. It seems the instant it is in his hand, it rings. Unnerved, he flips it open. Neo. Hello? And it says continued on the bottom, so it continues on to the next page. Let's see what page 15 of the Immortals reads. Jim, I'm all set. Steve, smiling. We talked to the lady. Get this, Jim. She actually believes the guy's her husband. Come back from the dead. Jim laughs to himself and looks at Alan. Jim, she's creative. I never heard that one used to get around immigration laws. Steve, she's still in shock. She gave us this. Steve hands Jim some yellowed photos of Mauer. Alan, her bio checks out squeaky clean. Jim, when were these taken? Alan, spring of 1944. Jim, are you sure? Alan, alright, could be early summer. Jim picks up the recent color close-up photo of Mauer. Jim. Alan, am I the only one, or... Alan, same guy. Jim, wait a sec. This is one of those amusement park things where you dress up for an old photo. Again, I'm not seeing any resemblance here. Besides Neo being named Thomas Anderson. I don't know, man. We're on page 16 now for both scripts. So, continued from page 15. And Morpheus is on the phone. Morpheus, voiceover. Hello, Neo. Do you know who this is? Neo's knees give, and he sinks into his chair. Neo. Morpheus. Morpheus voiceover. I've been looking for you, Neo. I don't know if you're ready to hear what I want to show you, but unfortunately, we have run out of time. They're coming for you, Neo, and I'm not sure what they're going to do. Neo. Who's coming for me? Morpheus voiceover. Stand up and see for yourself. Neo. Right now? Morpheus voiceover. Yes, now. Neo starts to stand. Morpheus voiceover. Do it slowly. The elevator. His head peeks up over the partition. At the elevator, he sees Agent Smith, Agent Brown, and Agent Jones leading a group of cops. A female employee turns and points out Neo's cubicle. Neo ducks. Neo, holy shit. Morpheus voiceover. Yes. One cop stays at the elevator. The others follow the agents. Neo. What the hell do they want with me? And it says continued on to the next page. So page 16 of the Immortals reads, Alan. The lab checked the paper out. It's a real thing. We think this is legit, Jim. Jim. He's probably a con artist who got a hold of some old paper. Alan. According to Mrs. Mauer, he hasn't asked for anything and he knows intimate details of their lives together. He claims he was frozen alive. The guy's petrified. No pun intended. Jim. Alan, do you know what you're saying? Steve. The guy thinks someone's gonna kill him. Jim. So do all schizos. Don't do this to me. I haven't even had my coffee yet. Jim's handed coffee by a girl. Alan, here's the cream. Alan hands Jim another report. Alan, this mystery man, if he's Mrs. Mauer's actual husband, was a Nazi and part of Hitler's special forces. Jim, 2 sips, that's all I ask. Alan waits, smiling. Jim, go ahead, hit me. Alan hands Jim another file photo. What's going on here? These are 2 completely different stories right now. I don't see any crossover whatsoever here. Other than the fact they're both at work, like that's all I'm seeing here. Both characters are at their day jobs. That's not going to win a court case in the slightest. Alright, page 17. So I want to get this wrapped up. We've been going for 2 hours already. Can you believe that? I can't believe that. This is going to take a long time to do, but we're doing it. Because nobody else is doing it. Page 17 of The Matrix, continued. Morpheus voiceover. I'm not sure, but if you don't want to find out, you better get out of there. Neo. Now? Morpheus voiceover. I can guide you out, but you have to do exactly what I say. The agents are moving quickly towards the cubicle. Morpheus voiceover. The cubicle across from you is empty. Neo. But what if... Morpheus voiceover. Go. Now. Neo lunges across the hall, diving into the other cubicle just as the agents turn into his row. Neo crams himself into a dark corner, clutching the phone tightly to him. Morpheus voiceover. Stay here for a moment. The agents enter Neo's empty cubicle. A cop is sent to search the bathroom. Morpheus's voice is a whisper in Neo's ear. Morpheus voiceover. A little longer. Brown is talking to another employee. Morpheus voiceover. When I tell you, go to the end of the row to the first office on the left. Stay as low as you can. Sweat trickles down his forehead. Morpheus voiceover. Now. So it's continued on the next page. Now for page 17 of the Immortals. Alan. Karl Wilhelm Mauer. SS Security. In his younger days, he gave her a pretty graphic description of what sounds like a cryonic facility somewhere in Brazil. Jim. I can't believe I'm actually listening to this. Has anybody considered that he may have had a son? Steve. She'd know if it was her son. Jim. By a different woman. He's angry at the world, so he impersonates his father to hurt Mrs. Mauer, who never knew of his existence. Anything's possible. I've got a headache. Alan. 0 sperm count. Jim. What? Alan. Not you, the guy. There was a list of personnel who were sterile. The Nazis were big on that sort of thing. They wanted to repopulate the world, and Carl baby couldn't cut it. It made him low on their priority list. Jim. So why would they preserve him? Alan shrugs. Jim. Alright, never mind. The big question is, are you absolutely certain this is legit? Because if so, someone has to go upstairs with this. Alan and Steve both nod yes. Jim. Alan, we're supposed to be in charge of security and reporting suspected terrorists. And now you're wanting me to go upstairs and report the boogeyman. And he's laughing. I'm waiting for one of you to tell me this is a joke. So I continued reading on to page 18 of the Immortals here. Again, the only similarity right now is that they're both at work. The jobs are not the same. The names are not the same. Jim Thomas. Jim Neo. Tom could have easily explained all that, but he never does. We got 3 pages left. Page 18 of The Matrix. Continuing from the last page. Neo rolls out of the cubicle, his eyes popping as he freezes right behind a cop who has just turned around. Staying crouched, he sneaks away down the row, shooting across the opening to the first office on the left. Interior, empty office. The room is empty. Morpheus voiceover. Good. Outside there is a scaffold. Neo. How do you know all this? Morpheus laughs quietly. Morpheus voiceover. The answer is coming, Neo. There is a window in front of you. Open it. He opens the window. The wind howls into the room. Morpheus voiceover. You could use the scaffold to get to the roof. Neo. No, it's too far away. Morpheus voiceover. There's a ledge. It's a short climb. You can make it. Neo looks down. The building's glass wall vertigos into a concrete chasm. Neo. No way, no way. This is crazy. Morpheus voiceover. There are only 2 ways out of this building. One is that scaffold. The other is in their custody. You take a chance either way. I leave it to you. Click. He hangs up. Neo looks at the door, then back at the scaffold. It says continued again on the bottom. Page 18 of the Immortals. Since I already read the dialogue, I'm moving on to the next action line here. Jim looks at Alan and then Steve. Steve shrugs. Jim to himself. I don't believe this. Alan. Neither do I. Jim looks at Alan, hopeful. Alan. I don't believe in the boogeyman. I've always been partial to the Invisible Man. Jim rubs his temples. Alan, why don't you give the lady a listen? Interior, Helen Mauer's house, afternoon. Helen Mauer is in her upper 70s, very distressed, and speaks with a heavy German accent. Her house is cluttered with furniture covered with knitted doilies. Ceramic figurines adorn her cabinets and tables. Alan and Helen have been talking while Jim listens in the background. Helen. No, you don't understand. He is in danger. Do you not listen? Alan. From whom? Did he say? Helen. No, he did not tell me. Alan. Did he say when he'd be back? Again, there's no matchups here yet. No solid matchups that you could take to court and be like, yeah, this is clearly a ripoff. We are now on to page 19 for both scripts. Page 19 of The Matrix. Neo, this is insane. Why is this happening to me? What did I do? I'm nobody. I didn't do anything. He climbs up onto the window ledge. Hanging onto the frame, he steps onto the small ledge. The scaffold seems even farther away. Neo, I'm going to die. The wind suddenly blasts up the face of the building, knocking Neo off balance. Recoiling, he clings harder to the frame, and the phone falls out of his hand. He watches as it is swallowed by the distance beneath him. Neo, this is insane. I can't do this. Forget it. He climbs back into the office just as a cop opens the door. Neo, shit. Exterior, skyscraper. The agents lead a handcuffed Neo out of the revolving doors, forcing his head down as they push him into the dark sedan. Trinity watches in the rearview mirror of her motorcycle. Trinity. Shit. Interior. Interrogation room. Close on a camera monitor. A wide-angle view of a white room where Neo is sitting at a table alone. We move into the monitor, entering the room as if the monitor was a window. At the same moment, the door opens and the agents enter. Agent Smith sits down across from Neo. A thick manila envelope slaps down on the table. The name on the file, quote, Anderson, Thomas A. End quote. That says continued on the bottom. So it continues on to the next page. Page 19 of The Immortals. Helen. Do you think I would tell you? He said to trust no one. I think it is very good advice. Alan. Right. Alan takes Jim aside. Alan. He made contact again. He got her to clam up, and now he knows we're watching him. Jim. Introduce me. They walk over to Helen. Alan. This is Mr. Reese. He'd like to help. Helen. Please, I am very tired. Jim motions for Alan to leave him alone with Helen. Interior, Helen Mauer's house, hallway, night. Helen is quietly crying as Jim exits her room and enters the hall, closing the door behind him. Alan has been waiting just outside the door. Jim and Alan proceed to the front door. Jim, I'll make the report. Exterior, Helen Mauer's house, Duke Street, night. Row houses stand as if in military formation. Helen's house has the long lace curtains in the windows. Jim and Alan exit the house, shutting the door behind them. They head towards Jim's car as the dialogue continues. Jim, she has my card to give him. It's a long shot. Have Steve and Tracy keep a watch on the place. If Mauer shows up again, I want him approached and held. So I think both of these scripts have deviated very far from each other. I do not see how the two of these could in any way be borrowed from each other. I cannot see how The Matrix can be borrowed from this. It's such a long shot. We're on page 20 now. But let's continue. So we're almost done. This is the last page for today. Page 20 of The Matrix on the left. Agent Smith. As you can see, Neo, we've had our eye on you for some time now. Read that wrong. Agent Smith. As you can see, we've had our eye on you for some time now, Mr. Anderson. He opens the file. Paper rattle marks the silence as he flips several pages. Neo cannot tell if he is looking at the file or at him. Agent Smith. It seems that you have been living two lives. In one life, you are Thomas A. Anderson, program writer for a respectable software company. You have a social security number, you pay your taxes, and you help your landlady carry out her garbage. The pages continue to turn. Agent Smith. The other life is lived in computers where you go by the hacker alias Neo and are guilty of virtually every computer crime we have a law for. Neo feels himself sinking into a pit of shit. Agent Smith. One of these lives has a future, one of them does not. He closes the file. Agent Smith. I'm going to be as forthcoming as I can be, Mr. Anderson. You are here because we need your help. He removes his sunglasses. His eyes are an unnatural ice blue. Agent Smith. We know that you have been contacted by a certain individual, a man who calls himself Morpheus. Whatever you think you know about this man is irrelevant. The fact is that he is wanted for acts of terrorism in more countries than any other man in the world. And in parentheses on the bottom it says more, so the dialogue continues on to page 21, which we will continue next week. So let's read page 20 of the Immortals. Alan. Right. Jim, make a copy of our file to keep outside the office. Keep this real tight and quiet. Alan, my wife tells me the same thing. They reach the car and stop. Jim. Alan, how many times do I have to tell you? Coffee in the morning and no jokes late at night. Alan, I keep forgetting. Exterior, street outside CIA headquarters. McLean. Morning. A homeless person sits on a sidewalk talking to himself. Above him, a sign reads, quote, Central Intelligence Agency, end quote. Jim drives up and gets out of his car. He looks at his briefcase and then the building as he hesitates. Interior, CIA waiting room. Behringer's department. Afternoon. Jim has been kept waiting. 3 nearly empty paper coffee cups are next to him on a magazine table. A door opens as a group of preoccupied and serious-looking men and women in business suits exit a briefing room. Kurt Behringer, a stern-looking man in his upper 50s, is among them. He is meticulously groomed and moves with a calculated grace. He spots Jim and moves toward him. Behringer, offering a hand. Jim, right? Jim, a bit foggy. Yes. The two men shake hands. Behringer. Kurt Behringer. Let's see what you have. Only similarities here are that those two characters are on the same page at the same time. Kurt Behringer is supposed to be Agent Smith. We never hear Tom use that name in conjunction with Agent Smith. He's always referencing his character as the Agent Smith character. I honestly feel like it's part of the manipulation tactic here. But there is a CIA waiting room, but it's not an interrogation room. But here are those two characters that he claims are Smith and Neo. They're on the same page. 2 different scenes, 2 completely different situations. One is pretty much being interrogated for crimes. They're colleagues, and they're shaking hands and asking how things are going. Honestly, for me, it's not nearly enough connective tissue here to even give the idea that it's been stolen here and used in the Matrix. I don't know what to tell you. The structure of the stories for both of them seem put together fairly well. In fact, the Matrix script reads just as it plays out on screen, which is what a screenplay should be. But here we have no reference point for the Immortals with a film version of it, so I don't know how we could even compare the two. But there's no matches here. Like, you take this to court and it's dismissed. And Tom gave them a lot more information than just this, and they said there was nothing there. Again, Tom should have never used the state supplied attorney. The one where, like, if you cannot afford one, we can supply you with one. I don't know. But we'll get more into this next week. We'll do pages 21 through 40. And in the meantime, I hope you all have a good rest of your week. I am starting a second show after this. So we're going to go right into Let's Talk About It, episode 23. I don't know how long I'm going to run that one because I'm already feeling kind of drained from reading this much. Just read 40 pages of 2 different scripts here. 40 pages total. But this is what has to be done. We have to compare. We have to see where the matchups are. There's supposed to be 118 matchups. If I was stretching it, there's 2. Jim Reese and Neo arrive at work. And then Jim Reese meets Kurt Berenger, which over on the other side, the same page number on the Matrix is the interrogation scene with Agent Smith and Neo. Those are the only 2 things that I would say constitutes a matchup, but it is very loosely based. It needs to be undeniable. And so far it's not. Will it change as we move forward with it? Who knows? But in the meantime, I'll let you all digest this. And if you guys have any comments, please leave them below. We'll get a dialogue going with what's going on here. But I'll be starting Let's Talk About It, episode 23, in the next 15 minutes. There should be a link that'll jump you to the live after I end here. So I'll see you all over there. Until the next one. Class dismissed.